Nestled in the small town of Sheffield, Alabama, sits a place where music history still echoes through the walls. Muscle Shoals Sound Studio on Jackson Highway. It may not look flashy from the outside, but inside these walls, some of the biggest stars in music came to create timeless sound. From soul, rock, country, and rhythm and blues, this little studio helped shape records that traveled across the world. Today, we're stepping inside the place where a small town made a major impact on music history. Let's go. What's up, brother? How you
Hey,
doing?
good to meet you.
Look, and Will's travels have been just like mine. He once was raised in Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta. He moved to Memphis. I lived in Memphis, still got family there. And he's here in Sheffield, Alabama.
Yeah.
And I had ancestors that are not too far from here. And Will, you're going to give us some brief history about this famed studio, people who have recorded here, and the things that are still going down here today, correct?
Yeah,
Good stuff.
absolutely.
So this is obviously the outside of the building. If people just drove by, they may miss it, right? But this is a huge place.
It is.
As it relates to the history. So if you don't mind letting us know perhaps what brought you here and the history of this site.
Yeah. For one, like this studio here, Muscle Shoals Sound, it started in 1969.
Okay.
This studio was started by a group of 4 musicians that were from this area. They were a studio rhythm section. They were called the Swampers. And so they were the guys that before starting the studio at another studio in town, Fame Recording Studios, they recorded with Etta James and Aretha Franklin and Wilson Pickett and Otis Redding. And they started the studio here in 1969.
Okay.
They were the band here. Now, what brought me here, I work here in the studio now, work as an engineer and a studio musician in today's kind of modern environment as well. I was kind of brought here from Memphis, Tennessee by Jimmy Johnson, one of the Swampers, who we can introduce as well too. I'll show you who he was, but Jimmy brought me here to get connected in the studios in the area. In the 1970s, this was one of about 9 recording studios in town. In the 70s, at many points, this town was generating 10% of the world's hit records.
Really?
Yeah.
Golly. That's huge.
Yeah.
So to work here with all of these cultural icons, right, who've once stepped foot here, you got to have an old soul, right? So for you, where did that old soul come from?
Yeah, you know, it kind of, like growing up, both of my parents played music. My dad was in the music industry, and some of his favorite songs were like When a Man Loves a Woman.
Okay.
The first #1 record of Muscle Shoals.
Yeah.
Now, you know, before I grew up listening to all that, but I had no idea.
For sure.
I didn't know anything about Muscle Shoals back when I was a kid.
Wow.
Listening to my parents' music, but I grew up around it, you know,
Yeah.
and it shaped my influences when I got into music. And I got introduced to Muscle Shoals really when I went to Memphis. There's a lot of connections, a lot of cross-pollination between Memphis and Muscle Shoals, like W.C. Handy, you know, had the first published blues artist in history, did Memphis Blues, and Sam Phillips, who started Sun Records, grew up in Florence, which is the city across the river from us here as well. It's where I found out about Muscle Shoals, and I came here on a very short, about 2-week trip with Jimmy, and I went back to Memphis, and I told my roommate I was leaving.
He was out. That's what's up, man. So it's just a single building, right?
Yeah, just a single building.
So I want to show you all just how small the space is, but sometimes I guess those intimate sessions are usually best for artists sometimes. Would you say so?
Yeah, that was a big part about like recording here too, I believe, is that like it's such a close quarters environment in the actual studio that, you know, that intimacy really brings out a lot of the musicians, even still today with the sessions that we do now. It's a very special room. This building here, it's about 2,500 square feet. There's a basement and there's the studio, but it was built all the way back in 1948. It was, you know, before it was a studio, it used to store all the caskets for there's a cemetery across Jackson Highway.
Right over there, there's a cemetery.
Yeah, this building used to store the caskets for that
I didn't know
cemetery.
That.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. So can we go inside?
Yeah,
please. Let's go inside.
Yeah.
And you all, as you all know, I always encourage you to go to the sites that I visit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not just something that I do for me. It's more so for you all, the viewers, to make sure that you add this to your itineraries when you're traveling during the spring and the summer for your history travels or what have you. And so, you know, if you have history travels to Nashville, this is a stone's throw away from Nashville, so you should come on down here as well. Just as there's a strong connection with Memphis and this area, there's also a strong connection for Nashville in this area as well.
Yes, and there is a Muscle Shoals exhibit at the Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville, Tennessee now as well too. It's a beautiful exhibit to go see.
Sure.
2 hours from Nashville, Tennessee, about 2.5 from Memphis as well. Our studio is open publicly for tours as well too. So Tuesday through Saturday, we give guided tours to share the history about this place as well, from about 10 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
We record in the evenings and we close sometimes for recordings, but you know, it's good. It's an incredible story that needs to be shared.
For sure.
Come on in.
All right, let's do it. Out the gate.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. This studio has a lot of mojo to it, really.
That's it, man.
This is it.
It's like stepping back into time for sure.
It really is. It's kind of a time capsule in here, more or less. This is the actual live room in the studio, so this is where the Swampers performed back in the day, and this is where we still cut our records now. If you see like all the soundproofing up top,
Yeah.
you know, the resources were kind of limited here around in the 1960s when the studio was built. The Swampers bought housing insulation and sheets of burlap. They put it up on the roof, on the booths as well too. The whole studio is just composed of burlap. Wow. Mostly. They used to call it the Burlap Palace.
The Burlap Palace.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
So for you, being able to literally be in such influential history from a musical standpoint, when you first started, can you think back to just how it felt for you to be in this space where so many greats were?
Yeah. You know, the more I was here, the heavier like weight it almost held, I guess. Like I moved here and I was like, okay, this is great. A lot of hit records have cut out of here. And then I really found out what went on in this building.
For sure.
You know, like the first artist that ever recorded here was Cher, which a huge icon in the music industry and like pop culture in general. But Cher was the first person that ever stepped foot and cut a record at this studio as well. She was 22.
Wow.
And then the Stones came several months later. Just in the early history of the studio, the Stones come. And then, but on top of that as well too, it was almost that it was nearly a very large portion of the major artists of this era all came to this little building. It was kind of like, who didn't come here?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, when did they come here to this studio? And we're still finding out stuff today, like that people that were here, like when Linda Ronstadt was here in 1971, she brought along the Stone Ponies, which would become the Eagles as well too. You know, like before they had become the Eagles, they were Linda's band, and they were present in the studio here.
Man, that's amazing.
It's an incredible thing it's a very special space.
Well, let me ask you, so now that, you know, that part, like your third eye is activated with just how heavy things are as it relates to, you know, the people who came here and the influence that they've had, what responsibility now do you have versus when you first started, like with preserving this legacy that others walked in? Very important.
Yeah, like for one, like to, you know, accurately know the history of the studio, and like in no way is it a burden to, but really to just help continue it, help preserve the legacy that the Swampers had made here. You know, they were just local guys from this area. They got a gig in the 60s working at their local recording studio and became these legends in the music industry. For us here, we just want to continue that. We want to preserve their methods and also too the overall attitude of how the sessions operated and stuff as well, and the professionalism and the work ethic on top of that too. But also just letting people know like how special this studio is, you know. And when you get in here like to record as well too, it is the air changes in the room, you know.
You know, this sits right in between these two behemoths. You got Nashville on one end, you got Memphis on the other end as it relates to music. Why is it that people chose to come here versus the two obvious spaces that people would normally go to?
Yeah, sure. Things really kind of came up here in the 1960s. The first #1 record I mentioned earlier was When a Man Loves a Woman.
Yep.
That was a pretty significant event for Muscle Shoals as a whole. Like Fame had several hit records since then on more of a regional standpoint at that time, but nothing to the size of what When a Man Loves a Woman became. It was recorded at a little cinder block building studio called Nor Alla, When a Man Loves a Woman was.
Okay.
But anyways, people came because of the uniqueness of the musicians, the culture of the town, and the musicians that were locals that were working on the records just developed their own sound, just like how musicians in Nashville and in Memphis had. Like each region kind of develops its own, their own way of playing, the local musicians, and it developed into what is now broadly considered to be the Muscle Shoals sound.
For sure.
You know, that was the reason this studio was named Muscle Shoals Sound. When the Muscle Shoals rhythm section, the Swampers, left Fame Studios in '69, they were trying to decide a name on the studio.
Okay.
You know, and David, our bass player, he said, you know, they've got the Memphis sound, they've got the Motown sound and Nashville sound, and he was like, we gotta have the Muscle Shoals sound. You know,
So
like,
it was playing off of that.
really
okay, I got
playing
you.
off of
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and like, you know,
On a much smaller scale, because those are larger cities.
absolutely right. And you know, like they had like hit records with Aretha Franklin.
Yep.
Like she did her first hit, "I Never Loved a Man" at Fame, and then they did like Mustang Sally, and you know, "I'd Rather Go Blind" as well too. That with Hedda James, but
Etta, man, yeah.
yeah, absolutely, incredible records, but like not to the longevity of the history of Nashville and that. So
Yep.
it was a really significant moment, you know, that they didn't know about. True, I'm sure. Like, you know, it was a pretty significant moment that in 1969, in April, they named their studio Muscle Shoals Sound, and it becomes this now broad term of what is described for all of the music from this area.
Yeah. So the individual that found it, can you said we're gonna be able to talk a little bit more about him?
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So, let's see. Let's turn around real
Okay.
quick. I got a photo I'll pull out
All right, cool.
to show you.
Good stuff.
It was what was unique about this studio is that the Swampers, and I'll point them out here for you.
All right, please do.
This is a photo of the first recording session here, which again was with Cher. Now, to point out the Swampers, who were our owners of the studio, the people that founded this. So in the back left, this is Jimmy Johnson, who I knew. Jimmy was the guitar player of the rhythm section here. He was also a recording engineer and a producer as well too, but Jimmy was one of the key members of the Swampers.
Okay.
And then on top of that, here's Roger Hawkins, who was the drummer of the group as well too. Roger Hawkins was from here, about 20 minutes outside of here. Jimmy grew up in Sheffield, where we're at now. This is Barry Beckett here in the back, who was the keyboard player of the Swampers, who's from Birmingham originally. And then David Hood, our bass player up front from Sheffield, Alabama.
So this was the day that Cher first recorded here, which was the first recording
record,
artist.
First record ever cut here.
Wow.
What was significant about her record too? We started out in our
She just
video
doesn't.
in the face
She just
of the
doesn't
building.
age, man.
No, right, right. So
Okay, that's what's up, man.
her record was titled 3614 Jackson Highway. Out front, there's a sign that says our address, just like this. It was copied from this album artwork, though. This was the first record ever cut here. She kind of honored the studio in its opening, named it 3614 Jackson Highway, and the Swampers put the sign up on the face of the building as well. Now, to speak on the Swampers a little more, though, Jimmy, David, Roger, and Barry. So it's Jimmy, David, Roger, and Barry Beckett. In the 60s, they were the band at Fame Studios, and they were kind of a freelance rhythm section. They worked at several studios that were here in town, Fame and Norala, and by the late 60s, they had cut many gold records, about 10 gold records, before they would end up opening this place.
Okay.
And they kind of had an aspiration and a dream to open their own recording studio.
Sure.
They were getting a lot of work by 1969. They thought they might be quite successful if they opened their own place, and went out on a limb and became the first musicians in history that had ever owned their own recording studio. So it had never been done where the rhythm section that played in-house was also the owners of the studio and the company itself too.
Wow.
You know, like Stax Records at the time had
in
Booker
Memphis.
T and the MGs, but essentially Booker T and the MGs were just kind of like hired guns, you know? And the Swampers, very unique that they owned the building. Probably in a way how they were able to sustain themselves as a rhythm section as well. A lot of session players also double as artists and stuff like that as well. They have separate careers outside of that.
Is there ever, so like with the landscape, and you all again, I'm only going to show you like just this section of it. I'm not going to go back here because we want you to come here. It's a small space, so I don't want to show you all everything. And sorry if the lights are kind of crazy, you all, but it's a recording studio, so it got to be kind of funky, right?
Yeah.
Was there ever kind of like a flow, like when the artists come in, did they sit in a certain space and wait, or did they, or one of these rooms, a writing room, or anything like that?
Not really a writing room.
Okay.
There's a basement, which was kind of an office space.
Okay.
They ran a publishing company down there, so they did have staff songwriters here. This was mainly the full operational space that they used.
Okay.
Again, the building's not very big. Like the front room in here was just a reception area, and a lady sitting at the front desk as well. So in here, it was a very professional environment for the most part as well too. A lot of times the songs were pre-selected.
Okay.
Sometimes if they came with not enough songs, the Swampers would pitch them songs that their publishing company had. Like they'd say, "Oh, you need a song for an artist? Well, we got a song. Why don't you try this?"
So with the Swampers, and briefly, I was able to learn a little bit about them. Do you feel like they've gotten the credit that they deserve? Do you feel like they get the credit that they deserve?
For one, there's the Muscle Shoals documentary, which came out in 2013, that was a really great thing to show the significance of this place in them. I not in a bad way, I don't think they haven't gotten the credit they deserve, but I think now more, like since that documentary, many more people have been very aware of the significance of what this place was.
Right.
For a time, it was almost like the world forgot about Muscle Shoals.
Yeah.
And too, like the peak of the era here was when there was no MTV. There wasn't many outlets for like musicians and stuff like that to be seen other than like going to a concert, right? Or going to see somebody live. And the Swampers lived and breathed in the studio.
Yeah.
They were in the industry. They weren't like on the road as well. We'd love to see him get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, for
I'll
sure.
put it there.
Yeah.
But they're in the Musicians Hall of Fame and the Alabama Music Hall of Fame, obviously. But they definitely, I believe, would be well deserved to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
For sure. Their resume is impeccable. So I see that there's a Mick Jagger poster over here, and do not sit over here. So are these original?
Yes.
Okay, I figured such.
Cigarette burns and all.
There we go, Mick Jagger.
Yeah, in this photo, he was. The Stones came here for a few nights in 1969 in December, and this song is when he was recording the percussion on Brown Sugar.
Okay. Okay.
They did "You Gotta Move," Brown Sugar, and Wild Horses here. Though.
Really? I love Wild Horses.
Yeah, one of the most famous songs to come out of this studio, and it was only within the first about 9 months of this place being opened.
Really?
As well, yeah.
Y'all, there's so many hits that came out of this space. As it relates to keeping the space up, from a preservation standpoint, is it pretty expensive, or was the building pretty solid to where, it doesn't cost much overhead to keep things going? We operate this place as a nonprofit now today. We are the Muscle Shoals Music Foundation. That is the nonprofit that owns and operates the studio now. Okay. The nonprofit was formed in about 2013. That was when the foundation got ownership of the building as well. And it did not look like this. Okay.
It had fallen into disarray for a number of years. It was, the Swampers. So what's incredible is they were here from 1969 to 1978 for 9 years at first. They recorded about over 300 albums here in that time. They would end up having about 75 gold records and 15 platinum records.
And that's when it counted.
Yes.
Right? Not streams, you all.
No,
like physical copies.
Physical sales, about 75 gold records and 15 platinum records in only 9 years.
And so let's do this for the newer kids that may not know. Gold is 500.
Yeah, so an
right?
LP, like a full album, is going to be 500,000 to go gold. If it sells over 1 million, it goes platinum.
Yep.
But the 45s or the singles would have to sell 1 million copies to go gold.
Okay, so that's the breakdown.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
gotcha.
it. They had 75 gold records and 15 platinum records though in 9 years.
That's huge.
They had over 100 top 20 singles in those 9 years as well too. And then so they outgrew this building pretty heavily. They were going to build onto this place originally.
Okay.
They bought all the land that surrounded the building here, But this building was owned by a man in town. It was a doctor here in town that refused to sell the building to the Swampers. He kept raising their rent also every single year too. The more successful they became, the
of course,
higher their rent
he was
went.
checking the pockets.
Yes. And so by the late 70s, they said this place kind of looked like a pawn shop. It was so full of equipment. They had so many staff that worked for the company too that they built a 31,000 square foot studio down on the river here.
Okay.
And then continued to operate that from about 79 until 2005.
Okay.
As
nice.
well. And that was kind of around the time where they would end up retiring more or less.
Okay.
Now, in the early 2000s. This building just became regular businesses. Became a used stereo shop, became a hardware store, a used appliance store.
Man.
What's incredible about it, though, is that the businesses, they never tore down these structures. So these are not rebuilt. This is the original vocal booth.
Yeah.
The drum booth.
You're showing the size. I was trying to get people
sorry.
But hey, it's all good, brother.
The drum booth.
They still need to come.
And the control room as well, too. Like, they're the original structures.
Wow.
So, in 2013, the foundation gets the building, and around the same time, the documentary Muscle Shoals comes out. The foundation received a donation from Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine.
Okay.
On behalf of Beats Electronics. They donated.
Since we're talking about Beats, right there, I noticed that.
Hence the Beats headphones all over the studio.
Now, has Dr. Dre visited?
No, but they gave us.
We'll take the money, right?
So, yes. So Beats Electronics donated a very generous donation to fully restore the studio to its original self. All the soundproofing was recreated faithfully to how it was. A lot of the furniture and stuff was brought back in the building. And Muscle Shoals Sound as a studio officially reopened in about 2017.
Wow.
As well.
And I'm assuming artists still, obviously, have all the makings of...
Absolutely.
Okay.
Still come and record here every single week as well. And we are one of what is about 15 studios in this area, too. So people still come here, like Chris Stapleton, and like we worked with Lana Del Rey here as well, too. Quite a big star. We've had like Dan Auerbach here. We've had the Allman Betts Band. We get a lot of people that do come through the studio to be in this building. It is a very special place to record.
Wow. So if we walk out to the front real quick, so this is where the receptionist would have been. So all, when some of your favorite artists would come in, they would be right here. And I imagine this is the room for where the receptionist would be, or was it right here?
This was like the Swampers' office. Like all four of them shared their office.
Okay,
here.
got you.
Mainly Jimmy's, but right here there was like a front desk lady that, like, if you wanted to come in and book a session, or you wanted to have a meeting with one of the Swampers, you could just walk in the front door and like, talk to the receptionist.
And you never know who may be in here during the time period. You know what I'm saying? But that's the beauty about being in small town USA. And as you all see, they do have merchandise. I'm going to buy a shirt for sure. I always like to buy things when I come to these places. And as you see, it kind of gives you the it says right here, the Gold Record Road, right? And then there's some gold records that are up top there. And this is dope, man. Plenty of pictures, of course.
Yeah.
Man, who would have ever known that this cultural icon, still living today, just a great actress, just seems like a beautiful soul, and the cover of her album would have, you know what I'm saying, just created this cultural behemoth here at Muscle Shoals.
Yeah, I mean, like, just in this room, we have Jerry Wexler and Willie Nelson in 1973. Willie Nelson recorded Phases and Stages here. Up above here is Lynyrd Skynyrd, who did their first recordings here in 1971 as well, too. And then we have Mick Jagger, of course, when the Stones came in 1969. He was about 26 years old in that photo.
Wow.
He's in his 80s now.
Yep.
Up above is Rod Stewart, who did parts of the records Atlantic Crossing and A Night in the Town here as well. They had huge hits off of that.
Did any of these folks ever come back? Like, has there ever been moments to where they have come back, and has there ever been like a reunion that you all have had?
Not really like a reunion. Several artists have been back too. We've had like Ricky Medlock of Lynyrd Skynyrd has been back, and like Candy Staton as well too. Mavis Staples. People have come back. It's normally like the musicians that worked on the records that return rather than the artists as well too. I mean, like, and really to think about it, like, the Stones were here for 3 days. That's how long they were in the studio. Like,
Yeah.
we're still talking about it 57 years later.
This is true.
But they were here for 3 days,
Yeah.
and they only came in the evening. Very short time periods. Like the
Right.
Willie Nelson record, it was recorded in 2 days.
Okay.
As well. And so, like, these are very, maybe big moments in their careers.
Big
but
time.
Very small moments in their lives. And you really have to want to come here. You don't pass through Muscle Shoals.
This is true.
You don't pass through, but we do have an airport.
Yeah. Well, you definitely have to be very intentional.
You do. You have to like have time to come and or go have time for like a 30-mile detour.
Yeah. So for the African American artists who would come here, obviously during the time period, maybe finding studio space may have been difficult for some individuals. Even though we're post, the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
There were still some discriminatory things, of course, that were happening across the globe. Were there any stories in particular about their experiences here?
Most of this kind of goes back to the 1960s.
Okay.
Like what was really amazing about the studios, and this area was relatively more progressive than the rest of Alabama was. In the 60s, Alabama was pushing pretty hard for segregation to still be a thing. And so, like the effects of like Jim Crow laws were kind of still here. Like many black artists couldn't go to restaurants or stay at proper hotels and stuff like that. But the studio environment always became kind of an oasis. It was,
it's universal.
Of course,
music is universal.
It was. It absolutely is. Like, and so like in the 60s, like studios primarily focused on working and developing local black artists as well too. Like again, Percy Sledge, a local from here as well too. He's from Leeton, Alabama, about 20 minutes outside of here. And then Wilson Pickett coming into town, and like there's a story about Wilson Pickett coming into town. Rick Hall met him up at the Muscle Shoals Airport, and Muscle Shoals was largely cotton fields at that time, and people were still picking cotton.
Yeah.
Now even too, like that's also how like just local kids made their money in town as well. You could pick cotton and then go get a day's pay as well. But for Wilson Pickett coming down to here and seeing that, it was a very shocking thing to him. And he wanted to leave when he came. And Rick Hall came up to him and he said, forget about all that. We're going to go together. And we're going to go cut some records.
Love it.
And so the studio becomes an oasis and then has kind of a ripple effect. Because music is universal. Music does something to people chemically or emotionally or whatever.
It does for me, for sure.
Absolutely. That music has always had a great heavy hand, and now thankfully really breaking those barriers and those lines as well too. But I mean, it was never about what you looked like, where you came from, and it's never that now too. It's a wonderful thing about working in this industry, or at least around here, is that it doesn't matter. You're a person, I'm a person as well too, and it's humans coming together and making something together. And it's so unique when like you've got a completely different past than me, although we kind of line up a little bit.
Yeah.
But in a broader scale, like bringing all of this together in also too such an unlikely space. Such a very small town. As well too. Very rural community, especially at that time. It was only about 8,000 people that lived in this area at that point, like in the 60s and 70s too. But things became easier as the years went on, though.
And I can imagine this was probably the fulcrum of that, because you have so many people from diverse backgrounds that are coming here to this space. The locals now, like, what are your thoughts as it relates to how the locals perceive this place? Do you feel like they know how special and how game-changing this was globally to have this right here in their backyard? Some
do. And then, some people have driven by this building every day for the last 50 years.
That's true. It's just part of the furniture for them.
They have no idea. They have no idea that this place exists. And then we get a lot of locals that come here for the first time, and we tell them about the significance of this place and what happened here, and they just almost don't believe it. They almost don't believe it. It's like, how can that come out of my little town that I live in?
You got to believe it. The evidence is all right here on the walls, man.
It is. It is, absolutely.
The evidence is right here. I love this picture of Linda Ronstadt, too. So young, man. And I think back to some of those music videos and stuff like that, and magazine covers and just articles and things like that of all these people that I know and the music that I love and everything. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty amazing. And, you know, again, you all, like I wanted to stress to you all, please visit these types of sites. You know, this kind of intimate tour that Will can give you without having 60 people in one specific space and, you know, you trying to hear or asking people to repeat it. Like, this is what visiting small museums, small preservation spaces, studios, restaurants, you know, local legendary places that have shaped and molded the communities. That's what this is all about. Is there anything else that you feel, because I want us to save some stuff for when people come here. I'm sure you can give them a whole lot more. But first, you know what, let's show people what it looks like out here. Yeah. So this is from the inside looking out. That's Jackson Highway right there, you all, at the intersection of Crestline Avenue and Jackson Highway. And you said that they purchased much of this land at one point?
Yeah, so like back in the day, like they owned like the lot here. There's a big lot on the side, which we own it all now too. And then all back behind us too. It's a lot of space.
Sure.
Much more bigger than this building. Yeah. And so they were gonna build multiple studios and all sorts of stuff, but they could never get this little building, and they really never thought they would come back. Like, there was a far-fetched dream of maybe buying back the building and putting a studio in it again. And
really?
When the foundation got the building, it was an amazing thing that, like, there was a little bit of hope for that.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Dre came in.
Money. Yeah.
And then it was, oh my God, it's happening.
Yeah.
You know, and okay, now here we are. Here we are now. That was almost 10 years ago now.
That's just dope, man.
Yeah.
So as we close out and we walk back through, and I'm gonna come back and get a shirt.
Of course.
What are some things that you want people some lasting words that you want them to know about the studio space, and why it's important to visit places like this, and where people can find you all?
Yeah, of course. For one, if you want to know more about the studio, you want any information about us, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or visit our website, muscleshoalssoundstudio.org. You can find us at Muscle Shoals Sound Studios on Facebook or Instagram as well too, and YouTube as well on top of that. That'll keep you updated on like who's recording here now today, and we also talk about the history that's here on top of that. About this studio though is that really, at the end of it all, it's an incredible, unlikely story that there were so many people that came here to such a small town to work with what were just kind of local homegrown country boys as well too, that went out on a limb and they started their own studio, and the studio was founded out of a desire to have creative freedom and creative independence and be able to work in an intimate setting and environment with artists and make great art and great records as well too. And an encouraging word is that you know, they were 26 when they opened the studio. They were in their mid-20s. Roger, our drummer, was 24. They did not know the history they were making in the moment.
They just knew caskets were at the bottom at some point.
Yeah, they knew the caskets were in the building at one point. Yeah, but they didn't know the history they were making. That's something probably something to encourage your viewers as well too. If you're a creative, if anything like that as well, you don't know the history you're making in the moment, and do the best you can every single time. That's what these guys were doing. They just wanted to do a good job. Every record that they cut, they came in faithfully. They did their job, and you know, we're still talking about them today.
For sure.
You know, still passionate about it.
Still passionate about it. That's what's up, man. Well, I greatly appreciate the time for this. You know, I was able to get in a little bit early and get a private tour, you all. Now I got to head to an event in Florence, which is literally a stone's throw away. But like I always tell you all, if you like this type of unheralded, underrepresented history, or history that had been part of your grandparents or parents' era, and you wanted to just kind of go back and ask them questions to spark a sense of nostalgia, please make sure to share this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and make sure to come to Sheffield, Alabama and visit this specific site. I'll leave information in the description. I hope you have a great day. Peace and blessings.